chances are gone. There is only one chance left. He walks all timelines, carrying the last torch of truth. He is not a man, but a harbinger of what comes next. Welcome to the Night Shift.
Live from Lima, Peru, it's the Night Shift. Welcome back, guys. It's your safe space. We're talking about UFOs, UAPs, NHI disclosure, mummies, possible alien mummies, secret space program, and everything else your friends, family, and coworkers are sick and tired of hearing you go on and on about. It's the Dan Cleary birthday special / holiday special. How's everybody doing? Happy birthday, Dan.
Happy birthday almost to you as well, by the way. This is kind of a shared birthday stream, I feel like.
Shared birthday stream. We're both December babies.
Yeah.
What are you're
What a fool.
Dan, you're what are you, 20, 29?
Pretty close.
30?
Almost double that. I'm 46 years old today.
46. I'm turning 45.
Yeah, it's almost over.
How does it feel to be old? It's almost over,
fine.
halfway.
It feels fine. I'm grateful to be here. There's people that have it a lot worse. There's people that don't make it to 46. So I'm grateful and I'm happy.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. Everybody at home, if you're watching, please go ahead and do me a favor and smash that like button. And while you're at it, light up our chat and say hello. It's good to see everybody. Good to see everybody in our mod squad is here. Mr. Justin is here. Let's see. Chris is here. Great to see you all. We've got special guest Rob Jones. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing fantastic, Clint. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Good to see you, man. And of course, our producer, Xander Jones, and special guest, last but not least, Chris Ramsey. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up? I'm doing good. Didn't know it was also your birthday coming up, Clint. So yeah, 2 for 1. Happy birthday.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. So what's going on, gang? How's it been last week?
Anybody?
Good.
It's been good.
Chris has been busy.
I've been busy. Actually, Xander's been helping me out a little bit too. We've been doing some behind the scenes music for the upcoming tour that Jesse and I just announced. So,
do you want to talk about the tour since we mentioned it? Let's go ahead and tell
I don't
people
want to
what's going
hijack
on.
the whole stream, but if I'll just shout it out real quick. Tour's called "It's Probably Nothing." So we're doing 2 dates, Montreal and Austin to start, and hopefully, if it picks up, then we'll do some more cities. But for now, at the Austin Paramount and the Rialto in Montreal, it's probably nothing.com for tickets. And then, yeah, we're going to hang out with guests, do some Q&A, have a good time. We got a whole set design. It's going to be a whole thing. And then we got like VIP experiences. I don't know. It's new for me. It's new for Jesse. We're both very new to this, but we got a great company, great production company that put this together with us that we work with every week. And yeah, we're really excited to just go meet people and just try this out. Why not?
I love the name. What do you have in mind for the show? What's the gist? What's the
So
basic idea.
there will be some surprises, definitely drop-ins, but the basic idea is that it's a night of conversations. We have, Jesse and I covering probably topical things. We're also going to have some audience member participation in some way, which I won't divulge. And then a special guest will join us for a live, studio podcast or theater podcast, and then we're going to film that as well. So that'll eventually be up, hopefully on YouTube for everyone else to see.
Very cool
That
idea.
is so awesome. What's the date for the Austin show?
Austin is February 5th, I believe.
February 5th.
February 5th and then February 20th in Montreal. And in
February
Austin,
5th. Yeah, you're right.
I think I can announce who the guests will be in Austin. I'll get maybe I can
You don't know if you have approval, do you?
well, here,
Do you have approval?
it's not we're not signed in stone yet, but it looks like we're going to be getting. I'll put a clue out there. Mystery Boys. I'll leave it at that, and we'll see if Chad can figure it out.
Mystery Boys. Okay, Chad, go for it. You have your assignment. Oh my God, that's so awesome. So what's it like to hang out with Jesse? How's he been?
He's been good, dude. He's always busy. He's always just kind of grinding like myself. So it's kind of rare we get to even hang out. So I went down for like a day for like the photo and video shoot. I shot that trailer in like 4 hours. Storyboarded it before I went down. Brought all my props with me. I had some friends help out. Shot like 4 hours. The next morning I was editing and I got it done. So it was cool. It was
Oh
good.
man,
I love the trailer. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you. Yeah, a bit of whimsy, goes a long way. I think it's nice to add a little bit of levity in this conversation sometimes.
It's a really fun thing to do. I'm happy you guys are doing that. It's very cool.
Thanks, but
So
that's
when
no
people-
attitude for Doomer Friday. I feel like we got to bring it down.
We'll get there. Don't worry.
All right.
we're just warming up. We're just getting started.
In other news, Marco Rubio has shat all over disclosure again.
There we go.
No, we didn't.
No, he didn't.
Let's get into it. Let's talk about it.
Sure.
Well, bring me up to speed because I've been traveling, so I'm way behind on all this. And by the way, guys, if you hear some weird noise in the background, I'm sorry. I'm just outside. I'm on a patio doing this from my laptop, so I'll mute. But I'm not.
We call those
That was so
Peruvian wind
appropriate.
chimes. Peruvian wind chimes is what you're dealing with out there.
Yeah.
So everyone,
Tell me about Rubio.
probably seen Age of Disclosure, of course, and Marco Rubio is kind of like one of the stars of the film. I think as far as the power of what he was saying, and he did an interview on Fox News the other night with Hannity. Is that who it was with? Was it with Hannity?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people thought that he was kind of walking back his confidence on what's been going on with, like, recovered tech that's been given to defense contractors, the whole deal. And I think it's being spun really strange. I don't think he walked back really anything. Did you guys all see the interview? Yeah.
I can play the.
I haven't
I
seen
can
it.
play the interview now. It's only two. This section that you're talking about is only like 2 minutes long, so we can watch
Yeah.
that quickly.
Let's just watch it and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, give me a second.
I like Rubio as much as I don't care for this administration. Rubio's all right.
Yep. Agreed.
around the globe.
Yeah.
I mean, you're at the highest level of discussions, and we're going to get into a lot of the hot spots and success and all that. But I got to ask you, there's a show that's come out. It's called The Age of Disclosure.
Yeah.
Okay, I know everyone probably, right? Everyone asked you about it?
Sure.
It's a new documentary. We had repeated instances of something operating in the airspace over restricted nuclear facilities. It's not ours, and presidents operate on a need-to-know basis.
Yeah.
Okay, that is
So a couple points on it. First of all, I'm not disavowing that. It was an interview that was done almost maybe 3 or 4 years ago when I was in the Senate.
Right.
So it wasn't recent. The second point I would make, I was describing the allegations that people have come forward with. I had people that came forward to us. Some of these people were Navy pilots, admirals, generals, whatever, that would come forward and say, that there were programs in the U.S. government that not even presidents were made aware of. So I was describing what people had said to me, not things that I have firsthand knowledge of in that regard. A little bit of selective editing, but it's okay because, you're trying to sell a show there. But the fundamental comments, I haven't seen it, but the clips I've seen and people have shown me are fundamentally true. And that is, there are things, we know this has been documented. There have been things that fly over the airspace, restricted airspace, be it where we're conducting military exercises or the like, and everyone in the government says they're not ours. And so what I worry most about, just me personally, is that some adversary, another country, for example, has developed some asymmetric capability for surveillance or the like that we just are not prepared for. You know, we're looking for missiles and fighter jets, and they're coming at us with drones and balloons. Yeah. Remember, you know, when NORAD turned on the radars and started looking for balloons, all of a sudden they spotted a bunch of balloons flying overhead. 90% of them were innocent, you know, things. A couple of them were Chinese. And so, but we never look for balloons because our radars aren't trained for that. So that really was the point I was trying to drive at. I can't comment on the rest of the documentary. It has, as I said, claims from people that were former admirals, naval fighters, people with high clearances in government. Some of them are pretty spectacular claims. I'm not calling these people liars. I don't have independent knowledge that what they're saying is true. The one observation I had is we had people that did very important jobs in the U.S. government who are saying these things. So we have people with very high jobs in the U.S. government that are either A, liars, B, crazy, or C, telling the truth. And two of those three options are not good. But I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. I don't have any point of, you know, I don't want to call them liars. I just don't have any independent way to verify everything they said.
I spent time, I've been talking to the mother of...
That's pretty much it. But yeah, I when I first saw like the people talking about it online, I was like, it sounded a lot worse when other people were talking about it than when he just talked about it. His first statement, in fact, was like, "I'm not." What did he say specifically? It was like, "I'm not walking anything back. I'm not taking anything back." What was it? Hang on, let me find it.
He said, "Quote: First of all, I'm not disavowing that."
That's the one. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's him saying, "Yeah, what I said is what I said."
I think the term selective editing is what people are getting caught up on, thinking he was taken out of context, which maybe a little bit he was, but yeah, I don't think he backed down from anything at all.
Yeah, I think if he was in editing, you know, if you're like, hey, describe to me what people were telling you, and then you go, yeah, you know, I had generals telling me that they were shutting down nukes, and then you cut in, they were shutting down nukes.
Yep.
You know, like that. As you know, a content creator, I can definitely see how that could be done. But you know, this is a major piece of content. Let's be honest.
Where were we thinking he was actually getting that information from anyway? It was obviously going to be he was told it. Like when he said that in the movie, I wasn't like, he was there. He was there on the base when they shut down the nukes.
This guy fucking flew one. Yeah.
I don't want to necessarily source where I got this information from, but my understanding is that Marco Rubio sent numerous staffers to go investigate this information, and they found that the information to be credible and reasonable. So,
same.
I'll just put that out there.
Yep. Also, we have to remember too that like he's now in this administration and a pretty powerful guy in the U.S. government now. And it seems like he also has an eye for running for president in a couple of years, possibly. So he also wouldn't upstage the sitting president by saying, yeah, this is real. We got these things. He wouldn't do that either. He couldn't. No. He'd be fired or ridiculed, and you know.
Yeah, these guys look at their numbers. Probably they have a whole team looking at their like approval ratings constantly. We've all seen House of Cards, right? And so he's probably getting fed like after this movie dropped, like a drop in approval ratings, you know, from his constituents, and then just probably, you know, had to like politically neutralize the situation. It seems like he's just kind of doing that. But yeah,
I'd be curious to see the numbers on his constituents to see if they are more into him or less after the movie.
It does seem like, you know, unfortunately, it's not as bipartisan as we would like it to be as it once was. In fact, it does feel like it leans more to the right, obviously, and so you know that could be the reason as well.
True.
Do you think that has something to do with the number of military personnel that are involved in this whole process, and just, I mean, does it skew to the right because that's typically where military people go?
Good question.
Does it even
I don't know.
This is going for Rob.
Mind, I'd like to address that a little bit,
Yeah.
Clint. I would say that I don't think that it skews to the right or the left. I think that this skews more towards a national security angle that just about all senior executive officials are going to sort of cleave towards. I talked about this a little bit online a few weeks ago about the difference between statutory secrecy and executive secrecy. A great degree of secrecy that's maintained by the executive branch is done through an executive order. I believe it's 12356. Off the top of my head, please correct me if I'm wrong in the chat.
You're not wrong.
But
You're never wrong, Rob.
That's what I thought it was too.
I'm wrong all the time. Trust me. But that being said, a great degree of executive secrecy that the president and the national security advisor would have power over is derived from that executive order. The problem is that much of the secrecy regarding the legacy program, crash retrievals, things of that nature would be derived from statutory secrecy, which is entirely different. That's congressionally applied power through laws that they've passed, both through the Atomic Energy Act 1954 and the National Security Act of, if I'm not mistaken, 1956. Both of these are statutory levels of secrecy that cannot just simply be dissolved without legislative work being done in tandem with the executive branch. Now, the president could easily, in my opinion, whip those votes in order to make sure that they could work with the legislature in order to pass, a law that would allow them to reveal these secrets. But the president and the national security advisor couldn't just come out and say, "Oh yeah, we know about this," because that's legitimately a violation of national security and would also in turn probably initiate a series of lawsuits from major defense contractors for, Article 5 of the Constitution takings clause violations, IP theft, things of that nature, revealing secure technologies and things of that nature that they have developed over the course of the past 80 years of this program. So it's not quite as simple as we would like it to be. There's not like a magic wand insofar as I'm aware that the president or the national security advisor could just wave to deal with this. It's a lot harder than that. But the power and the ability is there. So
I guess I get confused a little bit about this whole issue of like who is actually in charge of what program and who would you even go to? Like there's so many confusing questions. Like can an administration, can a president issue an executive order that carries through subsequent administrations decades down the line?
Yes.
Is it possible
typically a presidential emergency action document?
So if you had a situation where, like, I don't know, Jimmy Carter issues an executive order, is Ronald Reagan going to turn around and like follow that? Or, at some point, does Donald Trump look back and go, this thing's like 50 years old. What are we going to do with this order? It doesn't make sense anymore. Is there a process to reevaluate things and then adjust as the situation changes?
That's a great question that I don't know the answer to, unfortunately.
Oh man, I thought you had these answers. That's why you're here.
I dropped my subscription to ChatGPT because of you.
Well, this is why I get so confused, is because then you have a guy like Stephen Greer, right? I did a video on Stephen last week, and he says that it's a transnational cabal of business interests that supersede government authority and exist across borders in this weird legal gray area. And that's who's actually in charge. And then you've got Chris Mellon, who put out a video. Did you guys see this video that he put out through the Disclosure Foundation just the other day, where he was talking about the Air Force and the Navy?
The Air Force, yeah.
And he's like, why the fuck is the Air Force not saying anything? The Navy is seeing these things with their own eyes. The Air Force should be, they need to call in these Air Force brass and get them under oath, and then make this a criminal investigation if there's some kind of a problem here that they're not acknowledging.
Do you know what's funny? And this is where like my own lore, sort of creeps in. Nothing official, nothing verified. But if we go back to like these LARPers on 4chan and stuff, they were talking about that internal conflict between the Navy and the Air Force, and the Navy specifically wanting the Air Force to come clean about it. And the Air Force being like, kind of like, nah, we're not doing it. And so there's like no cooperation in these different, departments. But they each, if we assume that Wright-Patterson handles a lot of the, crash landings and that places like perhaps, Area 51 or Papoose or handle more like the naval recoveries, or I'm sure there are probably dozens, if not hundreds of other locations. But if we assume that it's just kind of interesting that they're both holding on to like separate technologies and they're not even communicating. I think that that's kind of wild to me.
It's not super surprising.
Exactly.
Oh, good. Go ahead, Clint.
I was just going to say that's exactly right. Like, that's the question. Like, how many different programs are we talking about? Are we talking about 1 or 10 or 20? And who's running, a bunch?
It's probably really
right.
messy is my guess. Like whatever it is messy and filled with all sorts of like subterfuge and whatnot. Like I don't think there's one clean, when people say they want this or they want that, like any of those things are really hard to come by when you have not only so many departments, so many intelligence, departments in the mix, but you also have a shifting leader every so often. And it must be just really complicated to keep track of it. And it must be easier to just, sort of give that to a small group of people to handle. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a big...
I completely agree.
That I make a point of this in my episode tonight, actually, because I'm talking about all about like whether or not we're in the age of disclosure, and yeah, I point out I agree it's likely not black and white at all. It's not legacy versus us. It's legacy versus legacy versus legacy versus legacy versus us.
Us, yeah.
And it's not a case of like even the people that might be in the legacy program that are now speaking out and things like that. It's not a case of, they're flipping on the legacy agency. It's somewhere like in between. It's like you can't just say, okay, you were a legacy program, therefore you're a bad guy and things like that. I think it's possible to want disclosure for humanitarian reasons, whilst also being inside currently a legacy program, for example.
Yeah, this is something that like Gerb and I have talked about quite a bit, that the factionality but within like these mini programs, as he mentioned in the chat just a few moments ago, is a very real thing. Stovepiping not only creates individual like silos of information, but it creates silos of both personalities and perspectives on those programs. Not all of these programs have the same perspective on what should be done to support national security, and national security is a definition that not everybody has the same definition of. So
it's very broad. It's a very, very broad term.
Yeah.
And if you have competing fiefdoms, then you probably have competing misinformation and disinformation from all different sources, all floating around and polluting the ecosystem. So we think we might know something.
Each program will have their own counterintelligence officer. So
Right. And then on top of that, but now here's a counterpoint to this, because this is something that Greer mentioned. I actually was really impressed with his last video, and I hesitate to say that, but I was. He was like, it's so easy, guys. It's a fucking illegal order. Like everything's based on an illegal order to begin with. And so there's no legal basis for all of the, like the NDAs and all of this other stuff. The foundation, it wasn't legal. So
it's my favorite argument that he gives is that argument. It's such a good argument. I don't know if it would stand up in court, but it's a great argument.
Well, I would say that there's a counterpoint to Greer's argument in that sense, that like the NDAs not being legal is one thing, but like the enforceability of them is an entirely different argument. When you look at NDAs, you look at things like the NDA itself, in my opinion, doesn't matter. It's the financial clawback terms and ways that they can victimize the individuals that do end up speaking out that are really more powerful than the actual text of the NDA or the status of the NDA, in my opinion. When you look at somebody who's like, I work for a contractor that has an employee stock ownership program, and I was paid mostly in the form of like said stock or like revenue from the company. You may potentially have signed an agreement that if you were to violate that NDA, there are clawback terms for that agreement that would allow them to take back in perpetuity earnings that you've made throughout your career. You could completely sacrifice your family's well-being by speaking out in that sense. So I'm not saying that's exactly what happens, but it is definitely something that is of a concern, right?
So
for every individual involved.
According to that reasoning, then, even if the underlying foundation for all of this secrecy is found to be illegal, by the time you unravel that whole fucking deal, these people individually could be ruined for life, and that's the fear of it. Yeah, and I see what you're saying.
And that's something that probably happens like on the outer layer of the onion. And as you get deeper, it's just like, we're just going to shoot your whole family.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I don't think they're signing NDAs at that level. I think they're showing something and they're like, you get it? They're like, yeah, I won't say anything. Don't worry. Please don't hurt me. That's probably what it's like. I don't think any amount of ink and paperwork is going to, change that. And I think if you get to those projects, which are pretty deep, you've been vetted probably for a very long time. It is a legacy program. You're probably groomed into these, deeper programs from a very young age.
What do you guys think about? Actually, Chris, I'm really interested in you personally, because Majestic 12 is something I've always been fascinated by. What do you think? Is this a real thing? Do you think that there is a transnational group that is just sort of overseeing the larger part of this project?
Yeah. My conviction level on there being a smaller group like MJ12 is pretty high. I'm pretty high conviction that is the case, that it at least was the case at first, and then probably is now bigger than it was. But I wouldn't say so much bigger. I would probably still assume that there is some, there's probably a couple dozen people that are on that know everything. And aside from that, I think it's just compartmentalized into increasingly smaller compartments.
Like at a strategic level, you've got like 24 guys who maybe have the full picture, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
And then down below them, do you think that they would be running all of these other smaller programs, or would those be running independently of an MJ12 group?
I think they probably all kick it up, the ladder. And so like a lot of these, you might see these guys that have the fatigues, the black fatigues without the insignias or without the names. Those won't necessarily be like Majestic cleared, who knows? They might just be like these hired, guys that have to sign contracts, that pick up wreckage or whatever, and they don't even know where it goes. They don't know what they're picking up. And, and then they kick it to another group of people that material split up. They don't necessarily know what it is they're working on. And then it just gets divided and divided and divided. I think, I don't think anyone's given, very few people are given the full, spectrum. I just don't think it would, the secrecy would last if that, was the case. But there are probably a lot of really interesting departments that play a pivotal role in that small group remaining on top. And I mean, like, this is where you get into like PSYOP and you get into, the subterfuge of the subject. I think those compartments are probably essential for the smaller groups controlling everything to thrive. I think without, the smoke and mirrors, I don't think you have the Majestic.
Do you think Majestic or Magic exists on paper in any form?
I do.
I do too.
Or it's not just like, hey, you're in Majestic now. It's like,
I think there's some word of mouth stuff.
Somewhere.
I think there's some word of mouth stuff, like word of mouth history. But I think there's probably also a paper trail for that kind of stuff.
The only reason I ask is
I at least hope there's an initiation ritual.
Yeah.
That box tag had MAJ on it.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah. I wonder what that means.
Have you guys seen Eagles Disobey in the last 48 hours?
In the last 48? No, I don't refresh daily.
What now? What do you do now?
Clint
just got updated.
He messaged me at like 3 a.m.
Clint has his coffee. He's got his coffee and he just opens this.
Rubbing sleep on his eye.
I'm pretty sure it's his homepage at this point.
Brian Jackson will text me at like 3:15 in the morning and he'll be like, check it out. Dan just updated the website. And I'm like, okay, and I go look at it.
Time for my morning beerish. Oh God, yeah.
I just shared the link. If you, Xander, if you want to put it up, it's Eagles Disobey. It has a PSA in red. This wasn't even up the day that I looked at it 3 days ago.
Right.
This is an awesome PSA. I just looked at it.
Somebody's STD is compromised as Agent Krasnov's. I don't even know what I'm looking at.
Well, 27 years.
Krasnov is a reference to President Trump.
Explain,
this note
please.
Yeah, explain.
Okay, so I don't know the actual source for this. I just know this from just colloquial knowledge. If I'm not mistaken, and I'm going to double check, specifically, there's a couple news pieces that are out there that indicate that in 1987, under the codename Krasnov, Donald Trump was sent like various like different messages and things like that. It was a former KGB officer, Alnur Mosayev, claimed that U.S. President Donald Trump was recruited as an asset for Moscow in the 1980s, and made a Facebook post about it at some point, which could likely be disinformation. But in 1987, while on a trip to Moscow, then aged 40, he was assigned the codename Krasnov.
Well, that's fun.
So.
I muted you, Clint. Sorry. There you go.
So yeah, it was a quick thing drive by. So below this paragraph, this is the new paragraph. Below that is this whole second paragraph about Majestic and MJ1 Goose Island. It makes no sense unless you already know what they're talking about. Raccoon Command Consistory is underway, even with MAJ setting the charter's rules aside for the VMs. And retired during the voting, the body informally knows the winners, but doesn't know what DMs. I guess that's
Ramsey knows something.
No, I mean, they gave a date, December 7th. There's some type of briefing. What is that?
Majestic's. Really? Well, according to Dan Burrish, it's Majestic is they're Masonic. It's a Masonic group, and they're all over it's like a whole spread out group, I guess, that's managing it. But this seems like such a stupid fucking way to communicate through a GeoCities
it does
website.
seem schizo.
I always thought the Majestic, that the Masonic thing was so like ridiculous, but then I realized that Buzz Aldrin literally left a Masonic flag on the moon and founded a temple there, like on the moon.
Just a coincidence, dude. Come on.
Here's the thing, too. It's like,
what is Freemasonry?
I'm sure it's nothing. I'm sure it's nothing.
It's awesome.
Freemasonry is all about secret knowledge and preserving and encoding secret knowledge and having a small group of people who understand the secret knowledge. I mean, that's what we're talking about. It seems like it would make sense. And all of those people at the highest levels, if you wanted someone in charge of the global strategy, you can't have 10 different presidential administrations making decisions, plus 3 different branches of the armed services, plus 14 different countries. You got to have one global group managing the whole thing, right? I can't think of any other way that it would make sense.
I think you can rule out Eagles Disobey being a psyop, because there's not enough people who know about this website. It doesn't really matter. Nobody really talks about it. So I think, and the fact that they're updating constantly either means that like they're completely unhinged, or this is real somehow. This is the way they communicate. Like
it could be both. Could be a little bit of both. I mean, it really could. Too.
Well, one of the things we talked about when we were walking through DC coming back from getting dinner was that you mentioned, or I don't know if it was you or Gerb mentioned this, but you guys mentioned it felt like sort of a coded response, like a check-in mechanism almost for them to check in with handlers of some type. I don't necessarily know that we can take all of the things that are on this website verbatim in any way, shape, or form, but I will say that it does feel like this is some sort of method of saying, hey, we're doing what we're supposed to.
To somebody.
That's what I get from it. I agree with you, Chris. Actually, that was kind of chilling when you put it that way. There's not enough people that even know about it for it to matter in the grand scheme of things for a psyop.
They're night shift super fans, and they just get off on it like every week. They clock back into Doom of Friday.
It's secretly Clint just giving himself content.
That's it. Or it's Chris with the Canadian flag. Who knows? Yeah.
Oh my God.
Only our content strategy were that detailed.
Remember how people used to communicate back in the day through like classified ads, like secret codes, and maybe this is like the new version of the classified ad.
Well, if you think about it, I'm so glad you read my mind, dude.
I'm so smart, dude. I'm so smart.
You are. You are. If you're monitoring, if you think that all your communications are going to be monitored, right? Your emails are going to be monitored, your calls are going to be, if everything's going to be intercepted somehow, then maybe some kind of a website where you just speak in code and other people can just go there and see it. Maybe that's how it's done. I don't know.
Did I ever tell you guys? I don't think I've ever said this like publicly. I said it in my members channel or whatever. But when Gerb was here, Gerb's probably listening, and I told him already. When he was here, apparently during our podcast, Now, I'm far removed from the city. I'm like an hour outside of the city. I'm nowhere near any consulate or anything. And I have a decent sized building, but I'm pretty low. My parking lot's just kind of for me. And there was apparently a car parked literally beside like where the podcast studio would be during the time we were podcasting. And I had a friend drive by, pick up a package like by the door, and they didn't tell me this till like a few weeks later because they didn't think anything of it. And the license, it was like a sedan, dark. Two people sat in front, a male and a female, and middle-aged, and the license plate said diplomat, right?
Come on.
Yeah. And so there's, like I said, there's no consulate around here. There's no way they would have gotten lost and parked there. It's so weird. And so I'd done some like background like investigation and trying to figure out, and it was probably like American intelligence is my guess, because you're in Canada, you got to have diplomatic immunity while you're going around or whatnot. So it's probably just some checkup, but it was while Gerb was here. So just saying,
That's awesome.
They are listed.
Gerb is being watched. I'm sure. Do you think we're all on some list somewhere?
I think
I feel like
Of course, dude.
I know you are, Chris, but I don't know about.
No,
I'm definitely on a list, Clint, because I've been visited by the NSA.
Whoa.
You have been visited by. That's right. You
Wait,
said that.
really?
What happened? Can you talk
I
about
had
it?
an NSA agent integrate himself into my wife's birthday party last year. I kid you not. This is a person that was down here. I live in Gulf Breeze, Florida, which is a UFO hotspot. But
Dude, we need to hang out. I'm only a few hours south of you.
yeah,
Together.
yeah, absolutely, we do. But it's interesting. I had just gotten into the subject about a year prior, and I was sort of really going hard with a lot of types of research that I don't want to discuss necessarily on stream. However, I live really close to Eglin Air Force Base as well, which anybody who sort of follows the subject knows quite a bit about Eglin being sort of implicated in, not only being a major test and training facility and range, but also just a place where a lot of like weird research is done. The interesting thing that happened is that my wife and I went out on an event, a public event where we were going on like a river rafting thing, where, usually you go out there, you drink a lot of alcohol. That's sort of our thing. We like to do that. Kind of normal. But this person was somehow like sort of pushed their way into a friend of ours' conversation. And during the course of that, sort of integrated themselves into their plans. And these were the only friends that we had that were going to be coming with us, and they worked at a hotel. And this person was staying at their hotel, which was a very inconvenient hotel for them to stay at, to be working at Eglin, like on a, like a minor like TAD or temporarily assigned duty. This person then integrated themselves into our birthday thing, which was specifically oriented around doing things that a person on a personal reliability program cannot publicly do, which is publicly drink. And then they came out with us and proceeded to question me politically for about half the time. I got questioned about like national security things, and it felt very pointed. And eventually, I sort of realized what was going on early on and was able to lean the conversation more towards like, hey, look, I'm not out here to divulge, confidential material or compromise, United States of America's national security in any way, shape, or form. And as soon as that sort of became clear, the difficult questions sort of tapered off, and it just became what it was. But it absolutely, affected my wife's birthday party and things. It was really weird, man.
Did you ever follow up on who this person was or find out?
I know exactly who he is. I was offered a job.
Wow.
You figured out the puzzle. You get offered a job. Nice.
Is that how it works?
Basically,
All day, just giving him like disinfo on the download.
I mean, I wouldn't say that I gave him any sort of disinformation or anything like that, but like it definitely
in the basement.
Yeah, it definitely evolved into a thing like, well, look, since you're on the level, like if you ever want to get a job, just contact me. This person also made like sort of a weird like effort to see my computer, which I did not let them near, but
Whoa, dude.
Have you ever since then noticed any weird stuff like what Chris described, like a weird car or just like weird?
That's the only thing.
Only thing.
I will say that, like, well, no, I'm not going to say that, but it's nothing really weird has happened since then, and that was over a year ago now. So
I feel like there are levels to this, and I feel like there's like the lowest level is probably like they watch your shit, they watch your YouTube shit, you know, they're paying attention, keeping tabs maybe. But then when you get to the level that Gerb's at, they send a car. They send some people.
Yeah, there's some other stories that I won't share, but there's definitely there's definitely been like and again, it's like it's hard for you to know what the real purpose of any of that is, because like even if you take like, let's look at Tim Taylor for instance, where like this enigmatic character is just kind of propped up around experiencers and whatnot. You keep hearing about it, but you know, you have to ask yourself, like I was always on the fence, is this guy just like a big fan? Is like the ultimate UFO fan who just uses his, you know, clearances to impress these experiencers because or did he have an experience that he's just trying to look for answers for, or is he, you know, meant to, which, you know, is probably true, just gather information about these experiencers? Or is it like, you know, you hear about when he went to visit Charles Hall apparently a whole bunch of times and brought these other guys around who are also, you know, I went on their LinkedIn and I was like, oh my God, these guys are like every single defense, you know, department in existence. And you wonder, is this like a dinner of schmucks situation? Like what is going on? No, because I asked myself these questions, like, do they get off on this? Is that what it is? Is it like a joke in the inner circles? Because all of this could be real. But it's hard to know, observing someone who is observing you, what their motive is. And it could just be very simple, and often it is. It's just like, oh, they were just told to listen in for a half an hour, see if there's anything. No, okay, we're leaving. You know, I don't know. It's easy to assume, you know, the bigger, it's MJ12 and they're shot. But I think it's probably just routine. I'm hoping. But yeah.
Keeping tabs maybe on stuff.
That's
a budget.
Honestly,
at the end of the day.
if I'm being perfectly honest, that's sort of what it felt like with me, Chris, is that it almost felt like routine. Like, hey, I have to check this person out. I have to test whether or not this person has, you know, loyalties. This person is a former clearance holder, which I am. It's, you know, it felt like, hey, let's just make sure this guy's not trying to, you know, mess with us or do something that's going to compromise national security. And as long as we can confirm that, let's just move on. So,
yeah, there's I haven't mentioned this either, but there's someone who has testified at one of the last 3 hearings who I speak to quite a bit. And we talk on the phone quite a bit. And I've noticed 5 or 6 times now that when we get to a certain topic or subject, we start losing connection on the phone every time we get to this very specific part.
Is it time travel?
What's that?
Is it time travel?
No, it's not. It's not. Why? Is there something about time travel that I should be asking questions about?
Only if the call drops in.
Got you. But it's very strange. It's very weird. And this person I'm talking to will be like, will say hello to the CIA, say hello to the NSA, and say, hi, guys, we're just chatting. Don't worry about it. But it's happened 5 or 6 times. And just about one topic.
I feel like
you
if they
start talking
sent
to him on a signal call, man, or at least.
I feel like if they sent a car, I'm thinking now about what you said, Chris. If they sent a car, I feel like they want you. That's a message. Well, I feel like that's a heads up. Like, hey, we just want you to know.
I don't know that it is, because it was kind of parked in the only spot that didn't have a camera.
I was going to ask about security cameras too.
That might be even a better message, but I don't know. I wonder why they wouldn't
just. There was no way I would have known that. There was no way I would have known if had this person up, because I had an Amazon package drop off, and I was like, "Hey, can you just come pick this up? I'm doing a podcast." And so that person, like, there would have been no way that I would have known. So how many other times? But I mean, I've since set up cameras, so now we're you know, we're because I'm like, dude, come in. You know, come on in, sit down. Let's have a conversation. What's going on? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's probably the last thing they want. But
Take a t-shirt.
I want to get these guys on camera for sure.
What I do worry about for myself personally is there's some awesome British podcasters and stuff, but there aren't that many of us, and it's very easy to just say no at the US border when my plane arrives. It's really easy for you guys to just say no, I'm not, you can't come in. So that is a legitimate concern. Like, for me entering the US, I don't know exactly what to say yet to make sure I get through okay. Because
I
the
think
border officers are pretty
wouldn't worry.
stern.
They're not going to give you a hard time.
Yeah, but they're
Keep
so
your friends
stern.
close.
Yeah.
Are you from Mexico? They're not going to give you a hard time.
Yeah, but keep your friends close, man. It's much harder to extradite you than it is to get you while you're here.
That's true.
My wife would say, you have the complexion for the connection. You're going to be just fine over here.
Don't get a tan before you come here. You should be fine. Stay out of the sun before you fly.
You're from a Five Eyes nation. Don't worry.
Yeah,
what's funny about all this is that I think all of us, I don't know, I want to speak for you guys, but I think you more or less agree that we all understand the need for secrecy. I don't think anybody has a problem with secrecy or classifications or anything like that. It's just we want to understand what the fuck's going on a little bit. You know? Like if somebody called me and they were, well, I mean, it can be taken way too far, and surely it has been in this case. But I think on the other hand, you could, if they sat me down and they were like, look, dude, you're getting, not that this is ever happening, but if I somehow stumbled onto something and they were like, you gotta let this one go, I would be like, oh, okay. It's like, just let me, I don't want to get killed. I don't want to get, taken off YouTube or deplatformed. I mean, I think we're reasonable people here. We're just curious.
Yeah, which makes you wonder why they've never done that, right? Like to what extent are they allowing this to play out as well, to potentially aid whatever agenda they have? Like, what's to say they want, like, maybe because otherwise all of our podcasts should be completely taken off the air if we're even touching on anything that's real, but maybe that's their whole thing. Maybe they're like, hey, we got to slow drip this, and who better to do it than these guys? They have a big audience. It's growing. We need to get people on board with this. If this stuff is coming out soon, and you know what I mean? Like, who's to say we're not inadvertently sort of helping their agenda? And that's the reason why we're allowed to do this.
Also, I mean, all of us here are sort of doing the same thing in different ways, but mostly we're just asking inquisitive questions of each other and guests and friends. We're not sharing anything that's super dangerous. We're just asking questions and living through the wonder of this topic. And I don't think we're doing anything dangerous or nefarious, personally.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me think.
I just want to mention.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I had another question, so just mention what you'd like.
Well, I just wanted to mention that, I can understand a need for national secrecy, right? Like, if it's in terms of national defense, but there are a couple major concerns that really come to me in terms of this entire legacy program idea, crash retrieval, cover up. It's the things that concern me are not what I would consider national secrets. Things like illegal appropriation, that violates national law. Things like, potential crimes against humanity or crimes against the American people with regards to either human experimentation, human abduction by military members, or potentially even agreements that may be in place with foreign entities. I say foreign to also mean non-human entities. If there are agreements in place that were made without the will or the consent of the American people, that's patently illegal, and I don't consider that a national security violation. I consider that a national security concern for us to be able to bring that to light.
Yeah, so human rights violation potentially.
Yeah.
Big time.
Mr. Justin is going to ditch out on us, so bye, Mr. Justin. Thanks for hanging out, man. He says happy birthday, Dan.
Justin rules.
One of our mod squad
He
people.
does.
Justin's the best. He's the best. Do you guys remember, real quick, just before we tie up this topic, do you remember a couple of years ago when Sam Harris was like, oh yeah, somebody reached out to me and they were like, we're trying to find a way to slow drip this to the public and we need people who can communicate to kind of like help us do that. we're going to probably reach out to you. And then he said they never followed up, but it was some kind of shady
I never heard
government
that.
group.
That's crazy.
You never heard this? He's
No.
this is
I heard
him.
it recently.
Google it. Go on YouTube and look for Sam Harris UFO. Just he'll come up. He doesn't talk about it much, so it's in there. But he said they never followed up with him, and he never chased it down. But I always thought maybe what happened was what you said, Chris. Maybe they looked at it and they said, you know what? There's a whole ecosystem of podcasters out there. All we've got to do is just control the source of the information. And then from there, these guys will digest it and baby bird it out to everybody else. So that's where my hypothesis about News Nation kind of comes into play as sort of like the central hub where you're going to find the key people. And then you get channels like Vetted or whatever, like this channel and everybody else trying to digest it and put it out there. Maybe that's more effective than just having 2 or 3 big names do it.
Potentially. And also, maybe it's just to muddy the waters. Maybe like confusion is one of the best types of control. As long as people are kind of suspended in this, I don't know where to put my finger on. They're not necessarily diving down a specific lane. Other than perhaps our friend Rob here and UAP Gerb, who are very much, going down the legacy route lane. But other than that, I think a lot of us are just kind of like grasping at, all different types of things. Like, what are we dealing with here? Are abductions even happening? Like, what's the, and we're so out there that they're kind of like, that's perfect. An analogy there would be like the drone flap, whereas like, let's say there are things buzzing around that are real, perfect opportunity to also throw up all the test drones we have, tell a bunch of pilots, start flying your drones.
Flood the zone.
Flood the zone, and then nobody can like put their finger on exactly what it is. And during that time, nothing's getting done. Nothing's being pushed forward. Nothing's happening. Nothing of significance is being talked about on a mainstream platform. It's all kind of being suspended. And maybe that's just it.
That sounds very
I
possible.
want to build on that a little bit with you, Chris. Are you guys familiar with Chase Brandon?
No.
Okay, so Chase Brandon was the CIA's first media relations officer. He was selected for the position, I believe, in 1996 or 1997. This is a position that was created by the CIA at one point. And my point here is that it's my belief that a lot of the media seeding that takes place, whether it's stories, ideas that are facilitated in various films throughout Hollywood, a lot of that is also to both maybe muddy the waters with particular ideas, but also to add a degree of like hilarity to things. One of the interesting facts that I would point out is Chase Brandon is not only the author of a book called The Kryptos Conundrum, which if you guys have ever heard of that.
Oh, I have that book.
Really, yeah, it's an excellent book. I really love it. I've been told by a number of CIA sources that I've spoken to that, some of the themes and ideas in that book are very crucial to the idea of disclosure. However, another interesting thing that I would point out is that Chase Brandon's cousin is a young man by the name of Tommy Lee Jones, who he also advised to take the Men in Black role at the time, shortly after he first was given that position. And then also, apparently, if you look into it, Tommy Lee Jones insisted on various script changes that were initiated within that film. I'm not privy to the exact script changes, but it's definitely a rabbit hole that I've been looking into.
I love
as
this.
part of a book I'm starting to write.
Do you know?
That's
Do you
fun.
know who Tommy Lee Jones's roommate in college was?
No,
Rosie O'Donnell.
Trump.
Al Gore.
Oh, we were close.
my God.
Really
Oh,
well.
wow. That's really close. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fun one. That's
What a
interesting.
web.
Do you think Men in Black was actually a legit play to just sort of make it silly?
Well, if
Sure.
you Google
I
Men in
would say,
Black,
like-
good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say that like a lot of films in general that get support and information and consultation from the Department of Defense or the intelligence community in general, I would say that there's almost always at least some sort of angle there in terms of information and perception management. So
Yeah, that even the movie Elio, which was Pixar's movie on alien abduction.
Great movie.
I had Amar here from Yes Theory, and we watched the movie together before the podcast. We're like, look, I've never heard of this movie, And it's been out for a year, and it's a Pixar movie. And I thought, what the heck? And then we watched the whole thing, and Arrow is mentioned in the movie. When the crash retrieval happens, which I thought was wild. This lady's part of Space Force, like the main sort of protagonist's aunt or whatever. And then at the end, we stayed for the credits because I'm like, I want to see, if there's any mention of the Department of Defense. And surely enough, apparently and so it goes, we'd like to thank the future guardians of the planet. And then it has a bunch of first names. And apparently those are all the children that were born during the filming. And that's like a bit of a tradition for Pixar. And then after that, we are very grateful for the support of the Defense Department or the Department of Defense and the Air Force and Space Force for allowing us to voice this with authenticity or something. It's a movie about alien abductions, and it's a movie for kids, and the Defense Department's involved. I just thought that was the wildest contrast.
That is crazy shit.
What I'd like to add is that Defense Department support comes with a certain set of caveats that you have to conform to.
Yeah.
If you look back to the movie Independence Day back in the 90s, they had all of their support from the Department of Defense pulled because at that point when the film came out, Area 51 was not an acknowledged location. Okay. Right. And they also determined that there were going to be the destruction of United States military bases, which the DoD did not want to see depicted on film, which is why if you go back into the movie and you look, all of their fighter craft are CGI or props that were built on set in order to depict fighter craft, but they could not actually use Department of Defense assets because all of that support was pulled. So you have to meet their
Independence Day?
You have to meet their rules. Yeah.
God, I saw that in the theater.
So did I. Was it 96?
I was on the local news because I was the first person in line to see that movie.
My man.
Such a
My
nerd.
dad has a VHS of it.
What about
That's why the NSA turned up at your house all those years later.
Is there any of this stuff, or is there any advisors that worked on The Arrival? Anyone know?
Anytime any Department of Defense is named or pictured in the movie, they have to approve it. So
why?
You'll always find them. It probably that's probably the same reason China probably does it, and North Korea, and like every what I mean. They want to control their image going out there, making sure national security is preserved, and even if it is a silly movie.
Sure.
Well, there was a thing about Ben Affleck and Argo. Did you see that movie?
Yeah. He said in an interview, he said he would not be at all surprised if there were CIA plants in Hollywood all over the place influencing films that are going out. Yeah.
There was a thing recently that came out. Ben Affleck actually went to CIA headquarters a number of times during the pre-production for that movie and had meetings with them, and they talked about it, and they had this whole structure in place to make sure that the agency was portrayed in a very specific way. And actually, when the film came out, they overemphasized the CIA's role in that rescue operation and de-emphasized the Canadian diplomatic corps' role in the same rescue operation. So it was all based on this perception management. But it's funny like how that worked. And then in subsequent, so that got called out, and then Ben Affleck in subsequent releases of the film actually had a acknowledgement put in there for the Canadian diplomatic services, just to clear that up. He was it was those
some
guys.
people see Alien, other people see PSYOP. That's it's kind of how that goes. You know what I mean?
We got a freebie.
Depends on how you look at it.
Just a taste of things to come.
February 5th.
Austin, be there.
I had a quick question. It's potentially not a quick question, but I don't care. You keep talking about like the slow drip and like the influence of Hollywood on Hollywood and like, what do you think is actually driving behind that? Because I don't believe for a second that the legacy program and those in power of the knowledge would divulge anything unless they absolutely had to. Like if there's let's say if there's a monetary value on the secrecy, they will maintain that for as long as possible. But if we keep talking about a slow drip, what is the actual real reason for why they might view ourselves as being on some sort of ticking clock that must be divulged. So there's a load of theories, but other than the whole like agreements between NHI and government, there might be some more terrestrial reasons. I don't know. I was wondering if anybody had any thoughts on that.
Well, it was post-war that they got during the war actually that they got involved with media, right? They knew that entertainment was an incredibly important part of the home life, and I'm not getting people worried and worked up about the husbands that are dying in the war. They would have to entertain the people here and keep them subdued. And the CIA knew that was a really, really, really great way to control the masses, and not from a we're here to control your mind with some I don't know, something in your TV, but more so, hey, we need to flood the zone with movies about patriotism right now, because a lot of people are questioning why we're going to war. And so all of a sudden you'll see a few movies pop up that deal with patriotism in some way, right? And so whatever it is they need, and whether that's, I look at recently, there was a movie on Apple with Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson called Fly Me to the Moon. I don't know if you've seen this movie. This movie felt like a giant psyop, dude. Watch the movie. It's a good movie. If you and your partner watch it, it's a great movie. But essentially, this guy, Channing Tatum, works at NASA. And, he's in charge of the sort of moon landing and filming the moon landing. And the CIA, then this Man in Black comes in and he starts talking to him. And he's like, hey, we need to also film this in a studio in case these cameras can't pick it up on the moon.
This is period from the 60s.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then so this girl, Scarlett Johansson, she's plays a part of this marketer, this brand expert that is hired by NASA. So there's this like love story, but essentially she is briefed on the fact that they are on the moon, but they're also filming this in the studio. And there are all these guys that have to sign NDAs and they have to replicate it in real time so that they can share it to the public. And just in case it fails up there, that we still have it here. And I'm like, that sounds awfully like you guys are trying to cover up something because a lot of people think, oh, maybe we didn't go to the moon, but we filmed it in the studio, but then we went after. We just had to kind of film it for the Russians or whatever. And they're kind of like, that's their way of addressing that. And towards the end of the movie, this is the craziest part, like the CIA agent, this Man in Black, walks into the darkness from one of these hangars, and she goes, hold on, one more question. She goes, are we alone? And he turns around and he goes, let's just say they're among us.
Oh.
And yeah. I was like, oh. I was like, DiCaprio, hey. Dude, that was crazy. I was like, there's no way he just said that. They're among us. This is like a Disney.
Why would that be tagged on at the end? You're right.
They didn't mention aliens in the entire movie. So, for me, that was like, oh, that's a little bit of soft disclosure here. So watch that. Fly Me to the Moon. Interesting psyop right there. That's one of those that I could see them having their hands in and being like, maybe we just, give them a little bit of this here and a little bit of that here. And I don't know.
That kind of is relevant to something that Clint posted today on Instagram. You posted that clip, Clint, of the who's the body language expert guy talking about the CIA having
Chase Hughes.
Yeah, no. Chase Hughes.
Well, Chase Hughes is one guy, but you're talking about the CIA guy. What's his name? I can't remember his name right now. No, but the other guy with glasses.
Wasn't it Chase who was saying that all the newscasters, like our parents' favorite newscasters, were CIA
Cronkite? Yeah.
I never heard
all
that
those
before.
guys, and they still are, dude. What's his name? Oh my God, Anderson Cooper, the steely blue eyes, Anderson Cooper. It was before he became a news anchor. You know what he was going to do? Join the CIA. He's talked about it in his book. He was like, I was recruited, and they were going to put me. I was going to join the CIA, but I decided to pursue a career in journalism. And then he just happened to right.
The same thing.
All these guys and editors, people who select the stories, who decide what goes on air, what doesn't go on air, what gets trimmed, what doesn't get trimmed, all that stuff. That's where your manipulation happens. And I'm sure a lot of anchors are just getting paid off. They get paid in cash. They probably get all kinds of
What was
different
it?
things.
Doty said.
I mean,
he said,
not to mention that, but like also news organizations get infiltrated by, individuals from intelligence agencies all the time. Just look at Glenn Greenwald's experience at The Intercept, which he founded to be an independent news organization, and eventually they found themselves so infiltrated that even their editorial staff had been compromised in some way, shape, or form. So it's tough. Every nation has a major stake in how their image is portrayed, how their citizens receive that messaging. It doesn't just have to do with like UFOs or UAP. It has to do with everything involved with the management of your nation, your international stance. I won't get into all of it, but it's nuts. Like they have every reason to do that.
Do you think that was ever done with good intentions, or has it been bad intentions from the beginning?
I think that varies with the individual.
Yeah, I think there are good reasons for like in the war, like you want to calm people down because something's going on or whatever, and you want to make people more at ease, make them less anxious. You're going to put out some feel good movies or something like that. Makes sense to me to manipulate. And I say manipulate is a bad word, but to kind of control, not a better word, but
Massage.
Massage.
there you go. Like, massage people in a way that keeps them busy, keeps them focused. Because if you look at today's climate and all the stuff going on online, it feels like they've kind of lost control.
A little bit.
If we look at movies and TV shows, like they're still very much apparent, and their influence is still very much apparent in that. But as soon as you drift away from all the legacy media stuff and you get into this realm of online streaming, YouTube, Instagram, all these other social media spots, you notice there's like, oh, this is unhinged now. They're nowhere to be seen. They're trying, but there's no way they can contain all of this. That seems a little far-fetched.
If you think about like just Joe Rogan, his audience alone is more than the combined audience of all the major American networks.
Yep.
One guy. And he has CIA people on all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying
I
don't know that
a lot of money for, because he already made stupid money, I think.
I don't think it's about money. I don't think it, I think it's literally like, you want to talk to somebody cool?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Sure, yeah.
Well, we'll hook you up with a guy. This guy's CIA. He comes in, he sits down, and then Joe gives him 4 hours of uninterrupted airtime to just talk about whatever. And the whole conversation is very much like, cool, well, tell me more. There's no pushback really. I'm not saying that I don't want to put, I'm not saying that Joe is wittingly contributing to misinformation or disinformation. I'm saying that if you are a perception management expert working for the Central Intelligence Agency and you're looking at people in the media landscape, Joe is top of my list. I'd want to work with that guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's where of course went on, and he was like, "What Epstein list?"
Right.
Well,
right.
yeah, and it's not about like you don't have to tell him you work for us now. You just have to get your guy on the show and have him.
Joe will let you talk. Love him or hate him, he lets you talk and speak your mind.
Which is his strength, and it's why he's so successful. But it's also tricky to Joe is not in a position, regardless of how much success or money he may have, he's not in a position to fully vet every single person. Like, how could you? Who could do that? And with the time, you would need a staff of people that are trained to do this, going after every single person on your show, making sure that they're all legit and everything they said is. It's just not.
Argue that Sean Ryan's had more CIA people than Joe on too. Like, I mean, that guy's Is he also an ex-intelligence?
I would also point out that Sean has also like opined a few times on his Twitter account that like he's been burned a couple times by people he's platformed on his show that he now believes are not actually being truthful. I'm not going to name the people that I think that is because that'll just cause drama. But like those people are absolutely out there and they've been on his show and he's since said, "Oh man, this probably wasn't accurate, but I had no way of knowing beforehand." So
I think Sean Ryan too focuses a lot on like, here's serious people telling serious truths. Joe is pretty open about like, I'm just trying to have fun and have cool conversations. I'm just entertainment. I'm not trying to give you the news. And he's the first one to tell you, I'm a moron. Like, I don't know anything. I'm just asking questions. So I don't think he's under as much of an obligation to like vet everybody, but morally maybe a responsibility, but he doesn't really owe us anything.
And I don't even think Joe, I think when he says that, we laugh. I don't think he's that dumb. I think he's a pretty smart guy. I mean, look at the media empire that he's built. Look at the people that he talks to. He's hanging with a crowd of very smart people, and he talks to them all the time. He's getting tons of really cool inside information. And what's interesting is when I watched Joe in the early days, like Red Band era Joe Rogan, when he was kind of remember Brian Redband. He was much more than anybody else at the time. He was the one talking about false flags. He was talking about, weird cover-ups and stuff. I think since then he's kind of like moved away from that a little bit, but he was one of the early guys who got me switched on to looking into all of that stuff.
Sure.
So I don't think any of these people are, bad because of what they're doing. I think they're just in a position to have a huge audience. So
we have a really, really good question from Android Paranormal here. Do you all think that Age of Disclosure avoided ORSAP because they knew mainstream media will not cover the more woo side of the phenomenon PR strategy?
Partially, yes, I think. But also, no one involved in OSAP wanted to participate in the movie, from what I gather.
I would say
of course,
individuals involved in OSAP did participate, but I think the main problem is that with regards to OSAP, I think they cut a large amount of material, to my understanding, based on what Dan Farah said on Rogan, that there was a lot more of like the woo material that they had filmed. And in fact, I know a specific CIA officer that was cut out of the film as well, who I won't name. Yeah, I think we know the same one. Because that person has, given me a great deal of really quality information over the course of the past 2 years while I've been involved in this subject. But, there's certain things that they didn't feel that the general public, as a filmmaker, Dan, I think, didn't feel the general public was quite ready for, and didn't want to sort of push the envelope beyond the level of credibility they were able to achieve. So, it's a tough spot.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would give a lot to get on that cutting room floor.
Well, I think we'll see.
I feel like
he did.
I'll put my own cut together of what they said.
Dan Farah did a Q&A in LA on the second showing of the movie, the Sunday after it came out, and I was at that, and he mentioned a few times that he has 40 or 60 hours of interview stuff, and he has enough of the weird stuff to make a whole other film. And he said that, they definitely avoided the weird stuff, but he has plenty of the weird stuff, which I assume is abductions and skinwalker stuff and all kinds of things. Yeah, let's fucking do it.
Let's talk about that. Phase 2 of this whole thing, man. This is phase 1.
I'm sick of talking about radar blips. Let's talk about bodies.
Give me the bodies, man.
Dude, let's go to Marley's Woods.
Say what you want about him, but every time Eric Davis opens his mouth, I'm like, say more. Keep going.
Yeah.
Because he always says some interesting stuff.
Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff in that movie together, sitting in those two chairs side by side, reminded me of the old guys from the Muppets. The old 100%. Guys.
It also,
I want to see a whole show with just the two of them.
Another angle I probably want to attack that idea from, the fact that a lot of arguably the most important parts of ufology, the abductions, psionics, consciousness itself, even completely left out of the film. Obviously, we don't have time necessarily to put 80 years worth of things into a 1.5 hour film. But is there also and I'm not accusing the film of being a psyop in any way, but there are, as we've already discussed, very intricate ways that Hollywood can influence the production of a film. Could it also be the case that it's not necessarily fundamental to the drip, as we've called it, that we enter that territory? Is it if we are headed towards some kind of disclosure, is it potentially an idea that they're going to tell us the very bare minimum that they need to tell us for continuity? And when we're talking about the psionic aspect and basically the empowerment of humanity in some strange way, the fact that we might be able to do crazy things with our minds and stuff, that isn't necessarily something that any kind of disclosure that they want would be the one that they go for in a very well produced very staged in many ways film. Like it's not just the fact that this stuff's too weird, it's that it defeats the object of what they're trying to do. Again, without making accusations.
Well, you've got to make it a commercial success first to establish kind of credibility as a filmmaker with this topic. And then you can edge your way into or sidestep into, I think, some of the more spectacular aspects of this thing. But initially, it's just about what can we show? That's why it's so packed with heavy hitters. You got to have those guys out front.
Yeah.
Because then you get the reaction we got, which is like now Sean Hannity's talking. It's on Fox News. It's on every other news station. You know, now we can open the door to phase two.
I would say there's two ways to get into that, because like on one side you can go that route, but dude, people are weird. People like weird shit.
Yeah.
We underestimate that. You know, people watching aren't all just like glued to CNN. You know, we're also glued to like Ancient Aliens, and we're also glued to like the X-Files, and like we like weird shit. Like let that be the thing we talk about too. I mean, that's what's going to get more people watching. You know, what's this whole trying to like dampen it and like make it like not as big as it is type deal? Like not a big deal. It's like, and it's here to push a build and like all this. Like, what are you talking about? Like they're literal aliens. Like, I mean, like this is kind of crazy. And I feel like, you know, back in the day, I remember watching the first sort of conspiratorial documentary that I've ever seen was Zeitgeist.
Oh, I love Zeitgeist.
Yeah, I love that movie.
You know, that blew my freaking mind open, dude. I was like, whoa, the Fed, they're controlling everything. They lend you $1 and then they, tax you on it, like this whole. And I was so like, and you go through all the phases of grief, you go through anger, and then you end up in nihilism, and you're like, I'm just going to live my life. And that sent me down so many rabbit holes. It sent me down Phil Schneider. It sent me down Bill Cooper. It sent me down Bob Lazar. That alone triggered, that within me somehow. And I think that people want that. People want to be shocked. They want to be like, yo, tell me the weird stuff. Tell me the stuff, because if you walk away from Age of Disclosure, this is just my experience, but I don't walk away by saying, oh, General Clapper said so-and-so. I walk away by going, dude, they talked about bodies and a tic-tac. And like, that's what I got from it. I don't know about you, but like, that's what excites, I think, most people.
I think that might be a smart move though, because by doing this film, you onboard like all of our uncles and our parents and our, friends who don't really buy into it. And I think the success of this has already bought him a sequel. So maybe this gets a lot more people on board. I mean, it's still being talked about like crazy. And then you buy yourself a new film, and then now you drop the really cool shit on people when they've had a minute to digest like what we know is a reality our whole lives. But now there's people coming on board being like, okay, I'm listening. Just take it easy with me, but like I'm paying attention. And then in 2 years, drop the abduction shit.
Yeah, for sure. Or the
what's crazy is like it's like this is what's so crazy to me is like we're talking about discs, Tic Tacs, aliens, all this stuff, and it's like that's not even the weird shit. We're in the norm. This is the boring shit. Wait until you hear the weird. Like it's all fucking weird. It's all crazy.
Yellow book. Let's talk about that.
The what book?
The Yellow Book.
Oh, the Yellow Book. Dude. Well, I want to talk about the Yellow Book.
It was referenced in a whole bunch of like, I don't know. I can't even like vouch for any of the credibility of these books, but like it was referenced as being the sort of Looking Glass manual. This book made of crystal that was handed, tech that was given potentially to Eisenhower during the meeting.
Is this like the crystal rectangle?
Yeah, that he was supposed to, divulge to the world, but ended up keeping or probably being forced to keep for the military and whatnot. And that's kind of like
supposed to go to the UN for an announcement, but never made it there.
Yeah, and then they're like, "Give us our
Match
gift back."
12.
Yep.
Isn't this sort of the object that was depicted somewhat as the tablet in the Secret Machines books?
Oh, could be.
I also find parallels
because it sounds
with,
like the same sort of device.
Like a viewing
I also
device. Yeah.
find parallels with Jordan Josak's description in his of the sphere, and I'm is it possibly something Anderson? I can't remember. I think Gerb interviewed him, or Jesse.
Jesse, Randy Anderson.
Randy.
Yeah, he described something kind of similar as well.
Doesn't Josh?
Yeah, there was an orb under the in an underground facility at Naval Surface Warfare Center Crane that Randy Anderson supposedly encountered, as well as what looked like a gauntlet that it seemed like, based on the description that Randy gave, that they exposed him to it in an effort to see if he had any sort of reaction or if the device had any sort of reaction to him. And he, I think, wisely did not divulge that he saw anything.
Is that kind of like when Malmgren was shown pieces and they asked him if he felt anything or if he heard anything? Like a test to see if you interact with the material or something?
Or Bledsoe.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
What did Jozak say? He said that they told him the guys brought in that case.
Military guys.
They had to disassemble the case. They had to take it apart with like screw guns and shit, and then it'd be pulled apart. And then inside it was this thing, the sphere or the crystal thing. And he said, what did he say? He said it chooses who it likes.
Yeah, they're just kind of like, let us know what you think, and it had an outer shell with like some sort of fog or like oil slick type, dynamic features underneath the surface that seemed to react with or interact at least with his consciousness in some way. And then, I've heard other stories of, let's say, time travel being involved in some way with these things as well. And
what I'm curious about is just with regard to like trying to drill it into all this stuff, how confused and fucked up the situation in the States is. But are there Chinese ufologists? Do we have any? I mean, there must be, of course, but like that are talking about what's going on in China. What's happening in Asia? What's happening in these other countries?
There is a guy that hit me up repeatedly. He's probably even hit you guys up if you check your emails. He's a lawyer. Do you guys hear about this guy?
Yes, he's reached out to me 3 times.
He's reached out to me a whole bunch. I think he was on Polarity's podcast, and Josh got a whole bunch of flack for it as well, because they're like, oh, he's a infiltrator or whatnot, which is, maybe or maybe not partially the reason I was like, I don't know if I want to touch this, but it seemed weird that he was like so pushy, and he's like, let me tell you about China's UFO efforts, and I'm like, I don't.
Also, I think Polarity is putting out a Looking Glass video today.
Cool.
Can I ask you guys, do we believe this sphere look into the future? Do we believe this stuff? Do we believe this story? The Jozak stuff?
I believe,
or open to it, I guess.
Jordan Jozak.
Definitely open to it.
I believe him telling me about it. Does that mean it's real? I don't know.
I think what's more interesting than the sphere thing was what else he talked about right after that or before that. Do you guys remember where they would get into this? Yeah. Okay, so they would get the children, because he was like given hormonal suppressants or whatnot. Like, it's all in this article. Like, it's really bizarre stuff that they would, because it's something to do with puberty and the children, like, keeps the psychic ability alive and whatnot. And so they would basically put them into this state where they would use both hemispheres of their brain to essentially astral project or to lead the bus. So they were listening to these tones, not unlike binaural beats, but not as friendly, not as fun. Just some random tones, almost like a phone tone. And they would listen to this, and eventually they would pop out.
Very similar to Dan Sherman.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then they would have these in this astral plane. They would have to create these grid-like structures that he described. And in these grid-like structures, they would place markers, right? These anchors in the grid-like structure. And then he said that wasn't even the hard part. He's like, the hard part was going back to those structures, like on the next session, because apparently there's some permanence there and they can revisit them. And then they would go there. And his assumption was that these markers placed on the structures were there to collapse certain wave functions in reality. So if you were to, go down this timeline and something were to diverge the timeline in a way that shifts the timeline negatively or not aligned with what they want, then they would collapse these wave functions of reality to make you trip and miss the thing that went over your head and like all these. So it gets really weird and trippy about manipulate. And that's where you're like, maybe the weird thing isn't aliens. Maybe the weird thing is that through really focused intention, you can literally change reality.
or see real reality. We don't even know what reality
Sure.
really is.
Yeah.
It's you're
That's,
muted, Rob.
You're muted, Rob. You're muted.
Before you say that, Rob,
Yeah.
before you carry on, there is somebody in our Discord, and Chris, you're kind of hitting the nail on the head. We have an experiencer in our Discord, and he has. I heard about this from multiple people in our Discord that testified to him having an incredible way of basically portraying how this reality actually plays out. So I gave him his own channel in the Discord, and he did just that. He laid it out in an incredible way, and we all visualize it in different ways. The way I visualized it, and I would encourage everybody to join the Discord and read what he wrote, because it's incredible. It really is. So shout out to him.
What's the name of the channel?
It's called Discord. Time travel explained. It's not fully explained, obviously,
Finally.
down to the formulas, but he the way I read it and visualized it, it was a series of train tracks that almost look like tree branches, each going off in their own way at multiple junctions. But the fact that those junctions might not just be two splits, it might be several splits, and yes, they're these nodes, as Jordan Jozak described, that this basically acts as a railway switch. So you choose which path to go down. Now, normally in everyday waking life, we get to the switch and then we decide, and then we go down the path that we switch to. Whereas the idea being, Jordan Jozak just goes ahead of time and picks the switch for us, in essence. So in a way, he's kind of guiding the timeline that we're on, but those timelines are all there already. It's a really, really good read in the Discord, and I would encourage everybody to read it.
So
I've wanted to say that for a long time, because he's really good.
Cool.
By the way, if you're watching, if you're playing the home game, please go ahead and hit that like button, guys. We have 600 and almost 630 people watching right now, and we're at how many likes are we at? I think we're at 200. Let's see, almost 300. Let's see if we can get up above 300. So am I understanding this right? He's like a temporal outbounder. He's like a scout, like a psychic scout looking out at future timelines. Is that what you're saying, Sander?
I mean, it almost sounds like to me that like he's describing the human brain as sort of a quantum antenna that has the ability to perform retrocausal like decision making in terms of like seeking out ahead and then seeing what's there and then determining where the junction point is. It's almost exactly like if you think about the book Dune, the way Paul Atreides is able to perform those types of calculations in advance. That's what that sounds like to me. God, I wish I'd known this when I met him in Huntsville this summer.
So,
you met Paul Atreides?
No, I met Jordan Jozak and Jake Barber. But,
yeah, that's really interesting, and I you know I've had I did a talk on this at Psy Games about sort of mixed mediumship that happens to magicians during performances, where sometimes through confidence and this sort of shared Pygmalion effect, we can go out on a limb and be completely right in our performances sometimes, and sometimes that confidence is just misplaced. There's no point. There's no actual understanding as why I was so confident in that moment to know that this would have been the outcome without having a net to fall back on. And yet it happens. And so magicians experience this all the time. I have 200 messages from magicians when I ask them to write this to me about these miracles that happen. And the audience is none the wiser, because the magician will never reveal to the audience that it was luck, right? To them, they're like, ta-da, that's the magic trick. But then we go around telling other magicians, oh my God, you wouldn't believe what happened on stage today. I actually read someone's mind, or I actually knew the outcome, or my thing messed up, but I did it anyways. And it worked against all odds. And I've had so many of these things happen. And after my talk at Psy Games, I was sitting at a table. I don't know if I shared this with you guys, but I was sitting at a table. They were doing dowsing on stage. So essentially, there was these six pucks or plates on the ground, and two of the plates contained either silver. One of them contained silver. One of them contained copper. And you had to successfully, using whatever dowsing method you had, which was your hands, a pendulum, dowsing rods, whatever it was, to determine which plates had these two elements. And there's a 1 in 30 chance. It's like 5/6 times 6/6. It's not impossible, but no one got it. And I'm watching this, and as it's going down, I turn to my table right after my talk, and I go, silver's in 2, copper's in 5. And they go, how do you know that? And I'm like, because it is. That it just is. Wait and see. I don't know how to tell you. It is. And they go, they told you. I'm like, no, they didn't tell me. Silver's in 2, copper's in 5. Just watch. And I sat there, and they started eliminating 1, 3, 4, 6, and turns out, yeah, silver was in 2, copper was in 5. I got up, took a bow. Yeah. Everybody was like, what the heck? They thought it was a magic trick. And it's exactly what I was just talking about in the other room, where like you can go for these gut shots sometimes with this misplaced confidence. And due to the fact that you're a magician, there's this Pygmalion effect where they believe that it's possible because you're a magician. And that sort of amplifies this, whatever it is, this, I don't even know what it is, but this thing happens where you can seemingly create the outcome instead of.
Is it like would you describe it kind of like a conductor and an orchestra? Like you've got all of this mental energy focused on your performance and you're doing it, and then you're able to sort of like corral that energy and point it at an outcome, and you think that might collapse a wave function because you have 5,000 people in a room all looking at the same thing?
Maybe. I thought it was like the strongest intention would collapse the wave. And sometimes there's competing intentions, and so it ends up looking random, right? When there's like so many people part of it. But if there's a really strong intention through meditation, through these flow states during performances, even comedians experience this when they do crowd work. They think, how am I making these connections so easily? And maybe it's that. Maybe it's like this weird state of mind that you get in that you can actually have a stronger intention than everyone in the room.
So in that case,
I would like to build on that just a little bit, Chris. This is something that I think actors experience as well. I've done quite a bit of like stage performance, both improvisational and scripted stage performance. And I would say that when you have finally captured like sort of the emotion of the audience, and the emotion of the audience is with you, there can be performances where, you can say things and you can do things on stage that weren't necessarily fully scripted, but it reaches the hearts and minds of the people that are witnessing that, because that's what they have opened themselves to.
Sure.
And I think that's very much on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
They're already bought into it.
Yeah.
Definitely happens in music
feel
as well.
like you can do no wrong. Like you can't,
absolutely.
Like you feel like anything that comes at you. And so you try to send out things that will trip you up, just to see if you can handle them. I do that in magic performances all the time, and I find myself creating miracles because of that.
I just want to ask one question real quick, Chris. You and I had hung out at Contact this year, and there was a really fun time. We're all sitting at that table outside, and everyone's there, and you're kind of doing tricks for kids. And you did a trick with me, and you said something to me about how sometimes the trick is making someone forget the order in which things happened, like making you misremember. Mm-hmm. Is that something that could be done with the plate situation? Like, I know how this stuff works. Is that something where people could be misremembering the order? Maybe they already knew, or do you know what I'm trying to say?
You mean the people dowsing? Or
no, maybe. I don't know. I'm just wondering if there's any kind of like maybe your perception of the way people's perception of the way time goes. I don't know if. Here's the thing. Is like, I don't know, maybe at that point in time when I decided that was the outcome, I don't know that is the only timeline that exists, right? For all I know, there's a billion timelines that offshot from that moment that are also simultaneously existing. And I just happen to be living in the one that I decided to live in. And another one, you may have got them both wrong, maybe.
Right, and I'm simultaneously living everywhere. It's just that right now, this is where my attention is, into this manifestation, right? And so I think if you look at like the way manifesting works, you look at the principles and the laws of attraction, all these different things, they seem to point to this being some type of intention mechanism that, like,
100%
focused states of intention can dictate reality, and then believing that can happen is a key ingredient. That's the, if you look at old shamanic rituals, and a lot of skeptics will look at shamanic rituals and say, oh, they're all trickery. It's all trickery. They use certain chemicals to create green smoke. And yes, of course. But who's to say magic with a C didn't lead to magic with a K? Who's to say that, these performative actions didn't switch something within you that now makes you believe. And if you look at hypnosis, that's exactly what happens. If you say, I can't be hypnotized, I say, okay. And then I hypnotize your best friend. You seeing your best friend, knowing them full well that they're skeptical, and I just hypnotize them, changes something in your mind to now you believe that you can also be hypnotized, and then it works for you.
Well, like when someone breaks a world record that is an unbeatable record, as soon as someone breaks it, then 10 people do it in the next 2 years because they know it's possible.
They know it's possible.
It's fascinating.
Or there's like a collective download or whatever that is. Yeah,
it's not necessarily.
Dan, I texted you about my chair the other day. Remember this?
Yes. Tell everybody.
This just happened to me the other. So Dan and I have this obsession with we like similar things because he's cool like that. And we had this conversation about an Eames chair. You guys know what an Eames chair is? It's a mid-century modern style chair. They're really comfortable. They're very specific design.
Everyone's seen it.
Yeah, you've seen it a million times, but they're like $6,000, like to buy a real legit Eames chair. And I've always wanted one, but I've never had that kind of dough to blow on a single chair. So I've been dreaming about it, been thinking about an Eames chair. Man, it would be so fucking cool. I would play video games and I would read, and I was just all the things I would do with my chair. We'd run along on the beach, and anyway, I'm walking my dog.
We were talking about it. We were talking about it 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, we were just talking about it. And like 2 weeks ago, I'm walking with my son, actually. We had gone to the park, and we were coming back to the park near our house. And so I was walking back, and I come to my block. And on the corner of my block, which is exactly the same place, by the way, that I saw the orbs in my orb video. I don't know if you guys remember, I videotaped these orbs, and it's this crazy video. And I had a weird owl sighting there too. But at the exact same spot where these other two weird events happened, I'm walking by, and the woman who lives in this house is coming out of the house with they've got a bookshelf, and I need a bookshelf for my office. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Are you getting rid of that? It's beautiful, mid-century, solid wood, awesome piece of furniture. Like, I don't know why they would throw it away, but they were literally throwing it out. And I go, I will take that today. And she goes, cool. Do you want the chair? And I go, what chair? She's like, well, we're getting rid of a chair too. And I go, sure. What kind of chair? I thought they were going to bring out some little chair, whatever. They come out with a fucking Eames chair and the ottoman that it comes with. The two pieces,
right.
Perfect condition. And they go, we're throwing it away. Do you want it? I go, yes. And so I took it back. I sent Dan the pictures. I'm like, I just fucking walked by and they were throwing it away. And now it's in my living room. It's fucking awesome.
I remember you talking about this. The link to the Eames chair, and I was just like, "What is this kind of chair?"
I think, Chris, you're onto something. I think it's like simultaneously you're in all of these parallel timelines, and there's one where if you believe it, somehow you can be in that timeline, and then there's a version of you in this timeline where maybe something else happens.
So manifesting is real.
And manifesting is absolutely. I mean, there's a perfect argument against it too. Like that's what makes this so compelling to me. Is that I can argue that all of that is coincidence because that's the definition of coincidence. That's literally what coincidence means, right? Well, I think it's beautiful that you choose. Your perception chooses which reality you want to live in, and both are equally as possible.
So when I was 15 years old, Nine Inch Nails is my favorite band of all time. When I was 15, I went in southern Massachusetts at a place called Great Woods. They were opening for David Bowie, and I was 15. Sitting next to my friend, and I said, someday I'm going to play with these guys here. I was 15 years old. And then in 2009, the band I worked for was on tour with Nine Inch Nails. We were playing that venue. 2 days beforehand, I asked Trent Reznor, the singer of Nine Inch Nails, it's his whole band, can I play a song with you in my hometown? And he said, of course. And I did it. When I was 15, I said, I'm going to play with these guys at this venue. And then 14 years later, it fucking happened. So manifesting, I think I'm realizing more and more, is a real thing. It's a real thing.
I think also there is some aspect of temporal communication. Like you now sitting in this chair on this podcast can be sending a message back to yourself at 15.
Oh,
and
dude.
At 15, you get it and you go, that's weird. I just felt like I was in a room on a computer talking. I don't know, like what these. I had this weird idea that's what I was. Have you guys ever had that happen?
At least once a month, I feel like I talk to myself as a little kid, and talk to him like he's next to me, and like give him advice and let him know like, you're gonna get through that thing, or at this point do this. I talk to myself as a kid often, and who knows?
So cool.
I've had an experience where during meditation I didn't know at the time, but it was like Focus 15, which is like Bob Monroe's like no time, no space. I never meditate in Focus 15, but anyways, I'm in this meditation, and all of a sudden I see myself gassing up outside at night, and I was like, oh, what's going on there? Or it wasn't myself, it was my friend gassing up, and I was in the car, and I was like, oh, I recognize this. This is the night we had a car accident. We were like 20 years old. We were, bit of drinking. It was late, 3 a.m. coming back from like a party type thing, right? Hyper irresponsible. And I was falling asleep in the front seat. And I remember this evening, I was thinking to myself, man, I really want to go curl up in the back seat, like when I was a kid, right? When you're, just a bumpy ride, and it's just like so nice, right? But I'm also thinking, this is my homie. He's driving. It's late. What if he passes out, right? That's a bad idea. I shouldn't go back there. But I'm too tired. I couldn't stay awake. And I just remember the feeling of like being held by my parents, picking me up after, and like and I was like, I'm like, hey man, do you mind if I just pass it in the back seat? He's like, sure. And I'm seeing this happen in my meditation. I'm asking myself, why am I watching this? And so I'm in the front seat, my friend's gassing up, and I'm not saying anything. And I'm watching this happen. And I go, all right, well, now is when I, tell him I'm going to go in the back seat. And I'm like a bird's eye view watching this happen. And nothing's happening. I'm not moving. I'm not saying anything. And then it dawns on me, and I go, I start sending myself the feeling of when I was a kid, and how comfortable I'd be in the back seat, and how awesome that would be. And now I see the door opening, and I zoom out. Well, what happened is I sat in the back seat. I curled up like a little baby, and I was woken up to the car crash. So the car had hit the the side railing, and the engine was in the passenger side seat. I would have been cut in half. My friend was unharmed. I was unharmed. And nothing happened to us. Not a scratch. And I remember being bounced around. I thought it was at home. I was like, what the hell's happening? And that's when I realized. And I always wondered what made me, because normally I wouldn't have gone to the backseat. I would always stay with my friend, but it was this overwhelming feeling of like nostalgia that I was like, I want to just go curl up like a baby. And I did that. And now I had this meditation. I was like, this is some retrocausal like shit that just happened to me. And then I realized I was in Focus 15, and that like blew my mind. So yeah.
That's exactly kind of what I'm saying. Like okay, Clint.
I'm just going with what both you guys were saying to build on that. I think that what if that's what, as you mentioned earlier, Dan, that's what they know. That's what they know. You can send messages back and forth through time. Maybe that's what these psychic spies are actually doing. Remote viewing might be a piece of it, a part of it, but maybe you can send information from 20 years in the future back to present day and act on that information. And maybe instead of yellow book or a holocron or a fucking chronovisor or whatever you want to call it, instead of a box that you're using to like look into like a TV set and see the future, it's not that. The truth is, it is in your head, and there are people who could do it, and those are the most coveted assets ever. I mean, that would be worth more than all the technology.
As Dr. James Lukatsky said, if the full breadth of human potential was known and understood, we would have nothing to fear from the phenomenon.
Right.
Isn't that what the dying alien of Roswell said too, allegedly? It was like, if you only knew your potential.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
This also kind of reminds me of that scene in Interstellar. I mean, the whole thing in Interstellar of like communicating to his daughter through the bookcase, and years later, and never,
Well, I think that's been at least explained somewhat. That as far as physics is concerned, time doesn't matter, right? Yeah. Like whether you're going forward or backwards, it doesn't. The chain of events exists the same, regardless of how we think we're perceiving it.
Yeah.
If I'm getting that right. And
what were we saying, Xander?
I have a really morbid story to tell, but I don't want to ruin what has been an absolutely fantastic podcast.
Oh, come on, I'm salivating for it. Give it.
We haven't gotten into the doomer part today.
Yeah, well, this will introduce we won't introduce the doom, but it's a morbid story.
Let's hear it.
To give you the long story short, this is the story of my dad's death. So, I'm,
they don't want to
apparently
hear
I've lost everybody already. So, hold on a second. I
I'm
guess.
just kidding.
Hang on. So yeah. Hang on.
Yeah, take it away, Xander.
Go ahead, buddy. It's all you.
No. No, I will leave it. I will.
No,
leave
come
it.
on. You know, say it. Tell the story.
No, because I don't know where Clint and Rob have gone either.
They have their dad still. This is just us now. This is a story for us. We're all going through this together right now.
No, I'll leave it for another time.
No, come on, dude.
Where's where have they gone? They didn't say anything.
They're doing a side chat.
So sorry, I
they're
had to
here.
deal with the pet issue.
There's a pet issue. Oh,
Look at the kitty.
For me, yes.
Okay, yeah, okay, right. And
moving
again, I don't want to like attribute horrible acts to potential like delusions or whatever. But obviously, I lost my father when I was maybe early 20s, sort of early to mid 20s. I don't remember the exact year. I don't know, 6-7 years ago from now. He was living in Spain. He would come back to the UK periodically to work. I would meet him. I was living in the UK, so I would meet him, and then he would go back to his life in Spain. And this morning that I met him, he was not well when I met him for breakfast. So much so I could see on his face he was visibly worried. But it's an illness as far as most people are concerned. My dad was a very very fit and healthy person at the time, and that day I decided, and this is probably true for a lot of people, I was just not one of those people that hugged my dad or told him I loved him. It just wasn't one of those things that we did. Didn't mean necessarily that we didn't love each other, but we just didn't do it. But that day we did. And about 10 minutes after I left him, I went to catch the bus and I called my friend, who I'm sadly no longer friends with. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I said, I think my dad's about to die. And then by 24 hours later, he was dead.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it was morbid. I told you it was going to be morbid.
That's crazy.
It's not that morbid. It's also kind of beautiful that you guys were able to kind of...
The one thing that I think was incredible was that was probably the first time in maybe, years that I told him I loved him. The first time in years that I'd hugged him. Because we just didn't do that.
There's probably a reason.
We did it for some strange reason. And again, I don't want to attach woo-woo to stuff like this because it is a very important... Like, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was that important to me. But, yeah, it was... I'm waiting for the moment where I go and tell myself, fucking remember this moment and tell him. I'm waiting for that dream.
Dude, and there's a lot of that. First of all, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I'm sorry for the audience.
No, that's an awesome story.
Was too
like
much,
Dan said, I think it's an amazing story. I don't think it's morbid at all. I think you were given some message, and you're just kind of waiting for the other half of it, which is kind of sick. But yeah, I think that when it comes to, especially around death, you talk to nurses a lot. And when my dad was passing, I brought it up with the nurse quite a bit. I brought up like, what do you think happens? Like, what do you see? And she's like, I see it all the time. I see them talking to people that aren't there. I see them, like, that stuff happens more than not. And, even in the case of my dad, he was hanging on and we're all like, you can go now. He was like in a coma at this point. And right before, and we're all kind of in the room with him. And then he's a veteran. He was in the Army and he, 32 years service. And then he was in Iraq and Afghanistan, all these things. And then the nurse goes, it's like he's waiting for someone. And we're all here. What do you mean? And then a car pulls up and this guy gets out his crutches. And it's one of his veteran buddies who lives in Nova Scotia, 11-hour drive.
Goosebumps.
Drove 11 hours. Gets out and he's walking. He's all like, he's got like a reconstructed, like we call him like the $6 million man. He's like titanium full on. And walks past us all, kisses my dad on the forehead and says, I got your 6, bro. My dad took one last breath and he was gone. and it was like a movie, and it was. Even talking about it now, I was like, it was hard not to acknowledge that something else was happening there. But yeah, so thanks for sharing that. I think stuff like that probably happens more than people are willing to admit. Yeah.
Reading
Absolutely.
the comments, people are like,
Can I pile
I
on to
know.
this a little bit?
But let's pile on, dude.
Yeah.
Let's do one
Rob,
big
please.
pile on.
You have experience.
So I don't share this a lot. I have a really similar experience to both you guys. My brother and I didn't talk a lot. My brother was about 10, 12 years younger than me, about 10 and a half years. He recently passed away about 2 years ago. I was not involved in this subject in any way, shape, or form. I was very much a skeptic. I was someone who was, I would say, a strict materialist and didn't believe in anything beyond what my eyes could see. I was a nuclear propulsion engineer in the Navy. Went from high school directly into that, and didn't really believe in anything beyond what my eyes could see. My brother and I didn't talk every day. And I knew that, he wasn't in a great place mentally, but he called me one day and, we didn't tell each other, I love you, talk to each other all the time. And my brother called me one night and was just like, hey, bro, I love you. And just like poured out his heart to me. And that very night he passed away. He was super into this subject, and I never really gave it like the time of day. And as a result, that sort of is what catalyzed me into even doing any of the things that I do now.
Wow.
And even involving or giving myself like the little bit of credence that I've given the subject and gotten into it and sort of spurred on my research and things of that nature. It's really weird that you guys mentioned those things because it was completely out of the ordinary that he would call me that day. He had no idea of knowing like what was about to take place, how he passed away. And I'm not going to get into those details right now, but yeah, right there with you guys.
Thanks for sharing that, man.
Thanks, Rob.
Something really weird about that. So,
well, boys, I have to go. I hate ending it on a note like that. This has been beautiful,
all right.
though. You guys are awesome. I love you guys. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for opening up. Really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you guys again.
You too, buddy.
All right.
Later, man.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Have a good one, everyone.
Cheers.
See ya.
Beautiful. Yeah, Rob, that's incredible.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have these stories. A lot of them.
My dad was the same way. My dad, lived in Maine, and I was in California, and I'd seen him a few weeks earlier, and then he called and said, like, I think you should come out and see me again. Okay. So I got there on a Thursday night at home. He's at his house, and we spent a few hours, some great hours together. And his girlfriend was like, is there something? I know you want to talk to Dan about some more stuff. Do you want to get into it? And he said, no, we had a good night. We'll talk about it tomorrow. And then he died the next morning. We didn't get a chance. But again, I think people do hold on, and they know what's going to happen. And these connections happen for them, and I think for us as a way to like deal with that grief and the pain, we have that to kind of hold on to. And I'm just grateful we all kind of had those moments. Love you guys. Yeah.
And happy birthday.
I think,
so nuts and bolts, huh, Rob?
yeah, I'm definitely a nuts and bolts researcher, right? I'm totally evidence-based.
Well, Rob, I'd like to tell you, I mean, your brother would be very proud of your contribution so far.
Absolutely. You've in a short time, Jesus Christ, man, the impact you've made.
Yeah. You're doing great work and
Have
very
you-
intelligent.
Have you read, Rob, any channeled material like the Law of One, the Raw material, any of that stuff? There's another book called Seth Speaks. Have you ever read any of the Seth books?
I have not read that. I've read the raw material, but also like I was really blessed to have reached out to the Bigelow Institute for Consciousness Studies, and they were kind enough when that happened to send me a copy of their series of studies, specifically the one that won that contest, Dr. Mishlev's study. And it was a really nice thing of them to do, to gift me that, and helped sort of buoy me like throughout the grief process for that. I
Was
would
there
say
an
like,
insight in there that you could share with the audience that really stood out?
not in particular, aside from the fact that it does seem that, like, across cultures, the experience of near-death experiences and life beyond death is rather consistent across all human experiences, whether it's, through, the lens of that particular culture, religion. It all seems to lead to the same place, and it doesn't seem negative as far as I can tell. Obviously, I haven't been there. I don't know. But it was something that at least helped me realize that, I don't necessarily know anything about life beyond death. I don't think there's any empirical evidence that I can point to with regards to that, as cool as those studies were. But, I will say that a great part of like my let's say coping strategy for dealing with grief has been to take the thing that my brother loved and carry that forward and try and make real contributions to that. So I
You're
gotta
doing
mute
it.
myself for a little bit. I'm sorry.
You're doing it, man.
Go ahead. You are doing it. It's the book that changed my life the most was this book called Seth Speaks, and it's a book that uh, it was channeled by a woman named Jane Roberts, and over a period of she channeled for decades, like with this being called Seth, and she wrote a series of books. Well, Seth wrote them. She would channel them, and her husband would record the sessions and then write it down. But the first part of the book is Seth talking as a channeled entity, saying like, I personally have died and reincarnated so many times it's like boring to talk about. But he's like, this happens. This is part of it. The illusion is that there's two worlds. There's not two worlds. There's one. It's all one. It's all one. And that's what the Love One and the Raw Material all says. It's this it's this veil. You imagine it's like that show Severance. Have you guys watched Severance at all?
Oh, yeah.
It's you have your work life, and then when you leave the building, your memory restarts and you reboot as the guy who lives outside of work. And you go into work, and it's all an illusion that there are these two worlds. And I think that's the thing that has been most comforting to me, to help me think about all this stuff. It's yeah, man. It's
What
it's weird.
percentage Doom level are we at? I don't know if this is Doom.
No,
It's
this has
more
been
just
great.
weird.
I don't think it's doom. I really don't.
I don't think it's Doom.
I mean, I know that my brother's pain is over and things like that. And I feel like, good things have come out of a lot of the experiences that we've gone through, like us as individuals, the four of us, and Chris as well. But also, the folks that have brought us here. We sit on the shoulders of giants, I can't remember who said that. I believe that was the Stephen Hawking
Oasis.
quote. Sorry.
Liam Gallagher.
No. We sit on the shoulders of giants, and as the current living members of our species, it's our duty to carry that torch forward.
I like that. I agree with that.
Can I throw a curveball and change the topic a little bit?
Absolutely,
Something different?
please.
What do you guys make of this back and forth that's going on lately with I don't know if it's a back and forth. This has been going on for a while with Stephen Greer and Lou Elizondo, each one calling the other one a misinformation, disinfo agent. Because that's what's going on with Greer and this his reaction to Age of Disclosure. He's like, Lou Elizondo is such a, he's so full of shit. What do you guys think about this?
I think it's a lack of maybe on both parts. This is what I said earlier tonight. It's not black and white, and one might be accusing one of being in the black, and one is accusing the other of being the white, but they're both somewhere in between anyway. Like, I don't think it's not you versus you, but they have their own interests to worry about at the end of the day. And I think it's a really silly part of the argument that they're getting themselves into. They choose to do it. They choose to do it because we talk about it at the end of the day. That's cool. But yeah, I think I don't think either of them are right in this case. I do think the way forward is to actually start like talking properly and like not immediately going to the so you're in a legacy program, you're a bad guy, just straight away. And that's what Greer does.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's more nuanced, right? Like I look at Lou, and when he talks, I'm drawn into this guy. Like I'm drawn towards him as when he's coming across as earnest and honest and forthright, and he's projecting that, it reads to me as very real, and I want to believe it. But I guess I feel like we've all been gaslit in this community for so long; it's hard to sometimes. But I when he talks, it's hard not to listen. And Greer too. I think when Greer, even as abrasive as he can be from time to time, I feel like his heart's in the right place. I feel like at the center of it, there's a good motivation behind this. This guy really does believe in what he's putting out there. But I just, I don't know. I wonder if it's just a false conflict. It's not really worth.
Can I play devil's advocate here?
Sure.
To get back to like more nuts and bolts like type of stuff that I would say I'm better at. I would say that it's very much a Spider-Man meme, like I joked about previously. This is the pot calling the kettle black in some sense. I don't want to speak disparagingly too much of either individual, but one thing that I would point out is that both Lou Elizondo and Stephen Greer have their own motivations. I would say that in Elizondo's case, he has his own definition of national security. He has his own definition of what force protection is. And as a career counterintelligence officer, across multiple different programs and multiple different, scopes of duty that he's had in his entire life, Elizondo was at one point one of the most senior counterintelligence officials in the entire United States national security apparatus. So he has his own strategies as to what he wants to reveal and what he doesn't want to reveal. And much of that, I think, revolves around an idea of force protection. With regards to Stephen Greer, on the other end of that same spectrum, as the joke goes, a broken clock is right twice a day. Stephen Greer, by all means, has a long and storied history of subverting the stories of individual whistleblowers and altering details of those whistleblowers, much to their detriment and their chagrin. Yeah. However, I do think that some of what he says about Lou Elizondo is potentially correct. That maybe Elizondo has certain aspects of program protection that he wants to do, but I would also say you can look back to all sorts of publicly available records about like Greer's organizations and things like that, with regards to the amount of money they've taken in, the amount of money that was funneled through quote unquote nonprofit organizations, things like that. And I'll probably write a big long piece about this that will hopefully be phrased in a way that will prevent me from libel suits. But I'm not the biggest fan of the level of monetization that Stephen Greer has worked towards throughout his entire career.
I agree with that.
There. We're all there. Yeah.
He's the only person that I can think of that's gotten super fucking rich off of the UFO world. I don't know anybody else who makes the kind of money that he does.
Yeah,
doing this.
Cruise. He has a cruise at the end of the day.
He has a fucking cruise.
It was a bit.
Well, we're sending Xander on the cruise. We're taking up. We're going to start a fundraiser.
Rob, you said
the
one thing.
Daddy Greer on the sea.
Rob, you mentioned about Lou that you think he is releasing information that he thinks should be known to people, right, or something like that. Mm-hmm. Do you think he's acting on his own, or it's an agreed upon group of truths that he's trying to let out? That's been like that a group has been like, let's allow this to come out.
I don't know the answer to that either way. I'm not privy to that type of information. But what I would say is this: is that as someone who was one of the highest ranked counterintelligence officials in the entire United States, I think that Lou has a very distinct definition of what he views as national security versus what you or I view as a reasonable disclosure. And Lou's definition on that is always going to be different than what potentially mine is. So I don't want to conflate that with being directed
Right.
by other individuals, because I have no evidence of that, and I don't want to make claims that are not actionable. Does that make sense?
Of course. Yeah.
But would it be safe to say that there is a degree of coordination implied by the fact that Chris Mellon and all these guys are working together? I mean, there's no secret about this. It is a group. There is an architect, a national security expert at the very top, of the diplomatic sort of pecking order. You've got
I would say you could
politicians
certainly
involved.
draw that conclusion.
I mean, there must, and I would imagine for all of this stuff to be happening, there's got to be some degree of coordination, or it wouldn't be, it just wouldn't be happening organically.
Some sort of game plan. Yeah, right.
Well, I guess the and again, it's something I mentioned in my episode that I think has been out for 8 minutes now. But anyway,
Shameless plug.
If I've been, it's not so shameless. If I've been in control of a big secret for almost 80 years, there is no fucking way I would let disclosure happen with just unabetted. I would, if I was to place some people somewhere, I would place them in a high-profile movie, and I would make sure that the message is delivered in the way that I need it to be delivered to meet the ends. And that's also not saying, at the same time, it's not saying I'm a bad guy. It's just saying my motivations are not necessarily aligned with everybody else's. Not bad or good, just different. But yeah, if I was in control of an 80-year secret, I would not let disclosure go unmanaged. I would make sure that the most high-profile movie of the year was absolutely managed in some degree.
Sure.
Do you think? I think you're right. I agree with it. What was this interview that James Fox did with Lou Elizondo? Were you guys talking about it in the chat before we started the show?
I'd seen that it was out. It was more like just I think they both had some cocktails and were sitting at Lou's bar, and it's 12 minutes of just James and Lou going back and forth. And when Rob was talking about it, it reminded me, my issue with Lou personally is that I think he's sincere, but he's so rehearsed. And every time he talks, it feels like it's a script and this go-to, I'm just a patriot, blah, blah, blah. And all these these talking points, which are good because they stay in our brain and it works. But he feels too rehearsed. And in this interview or this sit down with James Fox, it's more of that, where they're just kind of Lou hits his talking points and talks about internet trolls and doxing, and he's a patriot and all fine stuff, but it's just kind of more of the same. I thought it was going to be more to it. It's supposed to be they each ask each other 5 questions, and it was just James asking Lou questions, but they were definitely tipsy. So it wasn't the best interview.
So nothing new, in other words, to reveal.
No.
I agree with you too, that it feels like he's, I guess you would have to be rehearsed. You have to have talking points because you can't just shoot from the hip with this shit, or it would slip. You might slip up and say something you're not supposed to.
That's true.
Probably have to stick to a
script. Yeah, and just because it's a script doesn't mean it's wrong either.
Yeah.
Teachers,
right.
teachers give the same information over and over and over again in the same way. It doesn't mean it's not true.
Should we wrap it there, guys? I feel like we had a great show. I don't know if we could make it any better than it is.
I don't think I can cry a second time.
Not with that attitude. Come on, man. Well, this is great. It was good to see you guys.
Oh, it's great to see you guys, man.
What have you got planned for the rest of your birthday?
Me? I got. I might go. I have an old. I have a classic vintage Bronco. I might go for a little cruise, and then meeting up with some friends tonight, just for a little. It's like an open house, or like an open house, in the neighborhood I live in, and the shops open up, and there's carolers and stuff. So it'll be a nice little night.
Nice.
Yeah, but this
what
is
kind
a great way to start.
Do you have a classic Bronco and the new one?
I have a
What's your classic?
I have a 2022 and I have a 1972.
Oh, I had an 88 Bronco 2 that I loved. It was my
I
favorite
remember.
car.
Yeah, I had in high school. I had two 1979 Broncos. Those are my first. So I'm on my fourth Broncos now.
And after this, I'm going to Google what a Bronco is because we don't have them here.
Dan, my buddy in high school had a 1991 all-white Ford Bronco.
Of course he did.
And this was in like 2005. And he had red handprints down the
Christ. It's so great. The OJ Mobile.
The OJ Mobile.
I mean, we lived in Buffalo, so like OJ was considered a hero there for running for 2,000 yards. So
Sure. That's fantastic. I love it.
All right, guys. I think that's it for me. My kid's going ape shit in the other room. He's like,
have a great trip, Clint. Have an awesome trip.
I will. I'll keep you guys up to speed if I do anything cool.
Clint, are we doing one more next week? And then
I would like to.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, we'll do one next week. I'll probably be in Cusco by then, so we'll see how that goes.
Oh, and Clint, you were talking about the Seth material. And there's someone that we're speaking to in January that is very well versed on the Seth and the Dolores Cannon stuff. So might be a good talking point there too. Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Cool.
All right, guys,
Sweet.
Let's wrap it there. Thanks for watching, everybody at home. If you joined us a little bit later on and you missed a great first half of the show, be sure to go back and watch the part with Chris. It was great. And guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to share, subscribe, do all that stuff. You can go to teamnightshift.com, check out some cool merch. Don't forget to go over to Dreamland Motel, check out Xander's new episode, check out UAP Gerb, check out Rob's work, check out what Dan's up to at Others from Another Mother, and of course, our friend Pavel Sequitivo. We'll go ahead and wrap it there, and we'll be back with you next week. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and keep looking up, guys.